At 9:15 on a Tuesday morning, I watched my coworker present my campaign to our CEO, my strategy, my research, my exact words, with his name printed in the corner of every single slide. And I sat in the third row and said nothing. I didn't object. I didn't clear my throat. I took notes, like a good little team player. Because the deck he'd stolen off the shared drive was 3 weeks out of date. And in about 4 minutes, he was going to reach slide 40, a slide I had never finished, in front of the one person in that building he couldn't charm his way past. But let me start from the beginning. I'll go by Dana. I'm 33, and I'm a brand strategist, which means my entire job is invisible until the moment it isn't. The research, the positioning, the 70 bad ideas you kill to find the one good one. Nobody sees any of that. They see a finished deck, 20 minutes long, that looks like it fell out of the sky. Hold on to that invisibility. It's the whole mechanism of this story, how the theft worked and how it ended. I worked at a mid-size agency with an open, everything on the shared drive culture. Radical transparency, leadership called it. Work in the open, folders visible to all, one team, one dream. I believed in it. I built in it. And for 2 years, a senior strategist I'll call Grant grazed on it like a buffet. Grant was the kind of colleague who's never once been caught doing anything, because he never technically does anything. He specializes in the last 5 yards. You carry an idea 95 yards down the field, and Grant appears, beautifully dressed, to walk it into the end zone in front of an audience. The first time, it was a tagline. Mine, from a brainstorm doc with my name on it, presented by Grant in a client call as, quote, something I've been noodling on. I mentioned it to my manager, Phil. Phil gave me the speech you've probably heard yourself. We're one team, Dana. Ideas belong to everybody. Which sounds lovely, until you notice that ideas only ever seemed to belong to everybody. After Grant said them out loud. The second time, it was an entire regional pitch deck, my structure, my case studies, lightly reworded, presented while I was on vacation. When I came back, the win had been announced company-wide. Guess whose name was in the announcement? Guess whose wasn't? I want to be honest about what that does to you over 2 years, because if you've lived it, you know, you start to shrink your own work. You share less, you hesitate in meetings, because anything you say out loud becomes community property. And anything you keep to yourself makes you not a team player. The invisible work stays invisible, and the visible credit keeps sliding one desk over. I watched Grant get a title bump on the back of my regional pitch. Phil called him a natural closer. Nobody asked what exactly. He had opened. Then came the big one. Our agency's largest client, a national beverage brand, wanted a full rebrand, and the CEO of our company, a famously exacting woman I'll call Ingrid, decided she'd sit in on the internal pitch personally. This was a career-making room. I'd been building the strategy for 4 months, 80 interviews, a positioning model I was genuinely proud of, a deck growing in the shared drive under the transparency policy. Like always, version after version, all my thinking, all in the open. 2 weeks before the pitch, Phil pulled me aside and told me, warmly, like it was good news, that Grant would be consolidating the presentation and delivering it solo. For a consistent voice in the room, I would attend in a support capacity, taking notes at the pitch of my own campaign. That night, I checked the file activity log on my working folder. a feature of the same transparency system that had been feeding Grant for 2 years. And there it was. Grant had opened my deck at 11:47 the night before, made a copy, and changed exactly one thing: the name on the title slide. He hadn't opened the research folder. He hadn't opened the interview transcripts. He hadn't read a single page of the thinking. He'd taken the artifact and left the knowledge because he'd never once understood the difference. So here's what I did, and listen carefully, because I want you to notice what I didn't do. I didn't sabotage anything. I didn't plant a trap. I didn't edit his copy. I didn't touch one pixel of the file he stole. I simply did what our own policy allowed. I moved my active, current work into my personal sandbox folder, clearly labeled completely permitted, and kept refining it there. What stayed on the shared drive was the honest, 3-week-old working draft he'd copied. Watermarked draft on every page, an outdated positioning we'd already killed, and slide 40, a placeholder reading in gray type, final numbers pending, do not present. He stole a draft. I just declined to save him from it. The pitch was a Tuesday. Ingrid sat front and center with a printed agenda and a pen she clicked when she was unconvinced. Grant opened strong. Of course he did. The first 15 slides were 4 months of my thinking, and my thinking was good. He performed it beautifully. He'd rehearsed my words, the way an actor rehearses a script. Perfect delivery, 0 comprehension. Then Ingrid asked her first question. A soft one even. Walk me through how the interview sample was structured. And I watched a man discover in real time in front of the CEO that a deck is the receipt for knowledge, not the knowledge. He vamped. He said "great question" twice. He said the sample was robust and strategically diverse, which is what you say when you've never seen the sample. The pen started clicking. And here's where I want your honest answer in the comments right now, before you hear what happened. He's drowning, 4 seats away, in front of the CEO. Do you throw him a rope to save the client work? Or do you let the man finish what he started? Sit with it, because I had about 90 seconds to decide. Then slide 31 came up, the dead positioning. The one current me had killed 3 weeks ago for a reason documented in a folder Grant never opened. And Ingrid said, "This contradicts the brief. Why?" And Grant looked, for one unguarded second, directly at me. I did help. That's the part people don't expect. I answered Ingrid's question, precisely, completely from the current strategy. The one that lived in my sandbox and my head. Then she asked a follow-up, at me this time, then another. Within 5 minutes, the pitch had quietly changed presenters without anyone leaving their chair. And Grant was standing next to a screen, advancing slides for a woman in the 3rd row, until he advanced 1 slide too far. Slide 40. Gray type, full screen, in front of the CEO. Final numbers pending. Do not present. Ingrid looked at that slide for a long moment. Then she said the sentence that ended the meeting and started everything else. Whose deck is this? And I don't mean whose name is on it. Transparency culture, it turns out, cuts both ways. The same system that let Grant graze off my folders for 2 years had been keeping records the entire time, because that's what systems do. Design Ops pulled the file history that afternoon at Ingrid's request. The rebrand deck, created by me 4 months earlier. 312 edits. Mine. 1 access by Grant at 11:47 the night before consolidation. Duration 4 minutes. Long enough to copy a file and rename a title slide, not long enough to read one. And then, because audits are like potato chips, they pulled the regional pitch from last year. Same pattern. My file, my edits, his copy, his name. Then a third deck belonging to a designer on another team who'd been quietly seething for a year and, when asked, produced her own receipts within the hour. Grant hadn't stolen from me. Grant had a method, and the method had a paper trail 2 years long, time-stamped by the very transparency he'd been exploiting. He didn't survive the week. Neither, professionally speaking, did Phil's "ideas belong to everybody" speech. Ingrid asked him in the review, on the record, why credit only ever flowed one direction under his management, and I'm told the silence was long and educational. The following Tuesday, I presented the real campaign. Current version, finished slide 40. My name on it because my name belonged on it. We won the rebrand. I lead it now, with the title and the salary that had spent 2 years walking around the building on someone else's business card. The designer from the other team works with me. First thing we did was add one small habit to every project we run. A footer, every file, every version. Created by, maintained by, small letters, permanent record. Because here's the thing Grant never learned, and the thing I want you to take with you into every shared drive you'll ever work on. You can steal a file in 4 minutes. You can't steal 4 months. The file remembers who did the work. So tell me, would you have thrown him the rope earlier? Or let him hit slide 40 in front of the CEO? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because next time on the Karma Archive, a man came home a day early from a month-long work rotation and found a stranger in his kitchen, wearing his robe, frying eggs in his pan. And the stranger said, "Hey, checkout's not till 11.